right, you guys, it's Leia. I'm currently driving right now to work, but I decided since over the past few years, I always get a lot of questions on what is travel nursing. So I'm going to bring it to you all in a video. I'm going to break it down to you. A little background information on me. I am 28 years old. I'm a graduate of Drexel University, where I received my bachelor's degree. I am a telemetry nurse currently on a travel assignment as usual, and I've been travel nursing for the past 3 years. So definitely stay tuned. I am currently driving right now to work, but I am here to give you everything you want to know about travel nursing. Okay guys, so I made it to work. I'm in the parking garage. So I decided it's probably a little bit easier to record this way than driving and almost killing myself. Now, what is travel nursing? Travel nursing is when you're on contract with a hospital or a clinic. You give them a certain amount of time. So it could be 8 weeks. Generally, it's a 13-week contract, or you can extend up to a year. That's at your discretion and the hospital or clinic's discretion. And while you're on this contract, you have a guaranteed set of hours, meaning you'll provide 36 hours or 40 hours to the hospital or clinic, and if you get canceled, you still get paid. Pretty similar to PTO, but you don't have to build up PTO as you would on a staff job. Now, the requirements for being a travel nurse, all companies want you to have at least a minimum of 1 year of recent experience in that specialty that you are travel nursing for. They need you to have 1 year at least. Some contracts want you to have 2 years or 3 years, but generally you need to have 1 year minimum to be able to travel underneath that specialty as a travel nurse. And the process for it is you find whatever company you want to work for, you fill out the application, you do have to submit all your credentials, which means your license, your CPR, your BLS, your ACLS, your PALS, all that stuff, whatever, goes with your specialty. And you also do have to take some tests to, let them know that you know what you're doing. So you're still going to have to take a med math exam. You're going to have to take a telemetry exam. You'll have to do everything you need to do as for a staff job. And based on what hospital you're going to, the hospital might have modules for you to do as well before you start working with them. So there is quite an amount of testing that you have to do to be able to work for these hospitals, and there is an amount of testing that you have to do for the actual company for them to keep on file to show that you're active and you know that you know what you're doing and you're a competent nurse. Once you finish submitting all of your license, your certifications, and passing your tests, it'll be time for you to look for a job. So you have a recruiter. That recruiter is the person that's in charge of getting you these contracts, and she does everything involved with your contract, basically. He or she, your recruiter. So you guys will talk what city and state you want to go to, what hospital you're looking for. Maybe you have something in particular that you're looking for. Okay, let's say you want to go to Columbus, Ohio. You let your recruiter know that. She'll come up with maybe 3 different hospitals around that area. Let you know the pay, the hours, stuff like that, day shift, night shift, all that jazz. You want to submit to it, meaning submitting means you want to give your profile to the hospital to submit for that job. The recruiter will hand over your profile to the hospital, and then that means that you are submitted. The hospital will review it. If you're a good match, the recruiter will come back and say, okay, Hospital A wants to make an offer to you. Will you accept the offer? That's either a yes or no question at that time. You accept the offer, yeah, you got a job. After you get your offer, once it gets closer to your start date that you agreed upon, you'll probably get information on where to report to, where to get your badge, if there's any type of training that you need to do, the computer system that you need to learn. You'll get all that information after you submitted to the job, you got accepted, and now you already accepted your offer. Now, the big thing about travel nursing is location, location, location. In order to be a travel nurse, you have to be 50 miles away from your permanent address. Your permanent address is the place where you live. Maybe that's where your house is at. You're paying your mortgage. Maybe all your banking is in that state. you have to have some ties, some type of financial tie to that state, in a sense. And you have to declare that that is your permanent address. And when you apply for these contracts and you're ready to accept and you do all the paperwork, you have to fill out a declaration statement saying 123 Tree Lane in Columbus, Ohio is my permanent address. Okay, you did that. Now you are able to work 50 miles away from that address in Columbus, Ohio, and be considered a travel nurse. If for some reason that you are below that 50 miles radius from Columbus, Ohio, then you're considered a local travel nurse, meaning you'll still get the same amount of pay, but you will be taxed all the same. Now, it might not be a bad thing for some people. You'll probably still make out a little better than a staff nurse working in Columbus, Ohio. But that is the difference between a travel nurse being 50 miles away from your permanent address and getting, all your money that you make, or being a local travel nurse, which is less than 50 miles away from your address, still getting taxed, but also grossing a little bit more than a staff nurse. So most travel nurses do try to skip around and either go to another state after that 1 year maximum is reached, or they can also take some time off. You can take off, I take off for 2 months if I can. There's a lot of gray area about the amount of time where you can take off so you can still, keep your tax free benefit. But I take off for 60 days just to be safe. Or you can also go back to your permanent address and work in that state for a little bit. Just to show that you're still, going back to your permanent address. Okay, so housing. Where are you going to live while you're on your travel assignment? So you left your place in Columbus, Ohio. Now you have two options. You can either get company housing, or you can take the tax-free stipend for your own housing. If you choose to take the company housing, most of the time the company will provide furniture for you. They will definitely, get everything together for you, which means the security deposit is taken care of. You're literally just going to that apartment complex, telling them your name and your company, and they are simply handing you over the keys. You'll still do your walkthrough to make sure there's no damages upon moving and do your inspection, and then that's it. It has been literally the easiest thing for me to do when I'm moving across the freaking country. Now, the other option is you can take the tax-free stipend. You can take the money and it will be in your paycheck, and you will handle everything on your own. Your rent, your security deposit, that's all on you. So you can do it either way. Now, this is how I do it, because I will flip-flop. If I'm going to a low cost of living state, say like somewhere down south, I will take all the money for it because the cost of living is so cheap and I'm getting all this money. So why wouldn't I do that? That makes sense. Now, when I'm living somewhere with high cost of living, I might just take the company housing for somewhere like in California, where an apartment is like $3,500, for example. I'm going to take the company housing because my company's paying all my utilities. My company's putting down the security deposit. Imagine what a security deposit is on an apartment that's $3,500. They're taking care of all of that, and I'm just simply walking in to the apartment, getting the keys, and moving in. Done. Now, with company housing, sometimes you can be housed in extended stays. Some companies only do extended stays. Some companies do apartments, like studios, 1-bedrooms, or in my case, I have a family, I got a 2-bedroom. If you need anything more than that, I don't know, but you have two choices. Either you're going to take the company housing, everything is taken care for, and you still get paid, or you can do the tax-free stipend, where everything is basically on your own. Now, you do have to weigh out your options, which one's going to give you more pay. Sometimes with the company housing, you might be getting less pay. Some companies actually do offer completely free housing, but that will most likely be in an extended stay. So you definitely have to weigh out your options when you do get to that point. Okay, so everybody wants to know about the pay of a travel nurse and how it works, because it's kind of difficult. But I'm going to try to leave it very easy for you to kind of get, the basics of it, because it's pretty black and white. What you make is what you take home. Let's get a number. Say you make $7,000 a month on your contract. You're going to take home $6,600 of that. That's simple. That's what travel nursing is. The money you make is basically the money that you take home. You're not going to be taxed as much as a regular person working. But this is only if you are 50 miles away from your permanent tax address and you paid attention and you did not stay in that state for more than 1 year and became a permanent address. I'm sorry, a permanent resident. Once you become a permanent resident of that state that you've been traveling in for more than a year, or you're traveling less than 50 miles away from your permanent address, you will be taxed the same as any other person in that state. Now, like I said, you might be making out even better than a staff nurse because you're still grossing more, but I don't know. I haven't done local travel, so I can't really speak for that, but based on the local travel nurses that I talk to, it's still worth it. But without a doubt, the pay of a travel nurse definitely depends on your specialty. Some specialties make more than others, just as if a staff nurse pay based on their specialty. It depends on the city and state, just like the city and state matters for a staff nurse. Still the same factors, but the big idea is the money that you make is the money that you're going to take home, because you're getting a major tax benefit of taking home most of what you grossed. How flexible is travel nursing? It's pretty flexible. So you signed your contract, say it's for 8 weeks. You do want to extend for another 8 weeks, but once that 8th week is completed, you can tell your recruiter, I'm going to take off for a week or two. That is okay. In some cases, some companies will still keep your health insurance active for up to 30 days. So I like to say that you can probably take off for 30 days if that's what your company's offering to still keep your health insurance active. And then you can start the remainder of your extended 8 weeks. Flexibility on the floor when it comes to scheduling, that is at the discretion of the actual hospital and unit manager. I have worked on some assignments where I can do complete self-scheduling and they actually do acknowledge my days that I put in. I've been to some hospitals where they don't acknowledge at all the days that I put in. They don't even ask. The hospital staffing office just throws you in on what days they need, which can be, pretty much like staff nursing in a way. But you do have some type of flexibility, meaning on the times that you can take off. In between those contracts, you don't have to worry about your PTO or anything. You can just take off. You are responsible, for handling your bills and stuff on that time. But you can take off in between those contracts. Or if you do need to take off a week or two, you probably will have the ability to just extend your contract for 2 weeks. Say you need off 2 weeks in between that contract, not in between the extension, in between that actual initial 8-week contract. You can just go to your recruiter and say, hey, I need to take off for 2 weeks. I'll extend it for 2 more weeks. So flexible in that sense. In regards to scheduling, in my experience, I have not had to work a holiday yet. And the reason being is on holidays, most hospitals usually have everything covered. Everybody's going to be in the hospital trying to pick up that holiday. And if they're not or calling out, they've already switched with somebody, they're pretty much covered. And they really don't want to pay the travel nurse extra money because he or she's already making more money than the regular staff nurse. So they really try to staff their nurses. I'm sure if there's absolutely nobody to work, then yes, maybe they'll get the travel nurse to work. But since we make more than the staff nurse, you're always the first one out. So holidays for the past 3 years, I have not had to work any holidays. So you'll have guaranteed hours on your travel contract, meaning you will provide the hospital 36 hours a week. Now, you can get canceled depending on what the census is like. But if you are canceled, you are paid for that full shift. You don't need any PTO to build up or anything. Your contract, and make sure when you do these contracts, you need to ask about cancellation. But it's pretty standard that if you are canceled, you will still be paid for that shift. Now, 2 different types of situations I've been in. From my experience with standard travel contracts, I have never been canceled. But on my non-standard travel contracts, meaning if you get a float contract position, meaning you can float between a different, like if a hospital has another sister site on another location. Currently, I'm in a contract like that where I float between 2 different hospitals as a float nurse, and I can go to any different unit that is telemetry. So sometimes I am canceled, but as long as I provide the hospital my set amount of hours, when I'm canceled, I'm still paid for that shift. So I remember when I first started this contract, I was canceled nonstop. I was working only like 1 day a week with them and still getting paid for my whole week. And this is a really good contract. I want to try to, keep sticking with this contract because it's working out good with the cancellations. But definitely the benefit of travel nursing, if you're canceled, you're still getting paid for your shift. Another topic that I wanted to mention was, if you are going to consider travel nursing, please be ready to float. Some contracts you'll be contracted to work on a specific unit, but always remember you will be the first nurse to float. They will always float the traveler to another unit before they float their staff nurses. With traveling, they do try to cater to their staff nurses, so the travel nurse might always be the first to go up and float. Also, there's been like little myths that travel nurses get the worst assignments before the staff nurses. I can't really vouch for that because throughout all my assignments, I've been treated very fairly when it comes to assignments, and if there's something that I don't like, I do speak up. But for the most part, in my experience, they'll try to give the travel nurse the more, not easier assignments, but they won't give you the assignments that might have a high acuity patient, because they don't know what you can actually do. They know that their GI nurses might be specialized, in their acuity type of patients. But they're not sure what the travel nurse can actually do. They know that she's competent, he or she is competent, but they don't know, they're just unsure. So they won't give you too hard of a patient. Not saying that you won't get a total care patient, but they're not going to give you a whole bunch of super hard patients because they're not sure what you can handle. So I've been thinking about pros and cons of travel nursing that I can give you guys. There's really not too many cons at all. I don't know, if you just don't like moving around, if you don't like new settings, new people, a new hospital, you don't like different charting systems, you're not ready to adapt to anything, you don't want to learn anything new, maybe it's not for you. But basically all of that leads to the pros. It's great for people that want to travel and see new sites, explore new cities, meet new people, learn new things, because you're going to be learning a lot of different things going around different nursings and different hospitals. You actually learn a lot of new stuff, which is amazing. It doesn't matter how many years of experience you have. You've been stuck at that staff job for how many years, and you're just now seeing like something different. So you actually do learn things, which is great for people that want to learn things. But overall, I think travel nursing is a pro, period. You're finally making more money and actually taking home most of that money, and you're seeing new things. So if that interests you, then travel nursing might be a great fit for you. Okay, this concludes our video. I'm tired of sitting in the parking garage. I'm getting ready to go into work this morning. If there's anything else that you guys want to see, any questions that you have on travel nursing or nursing as a whole, please leave your comments down below. I'm always happy to help. Thank you so much for watching, and stay tuned.